welcome to Relaxed Male, a podcast that helps men change their relationship with themselves. I am your host, Brian, and I am a men's life and mindset coach who is here to help you understand that you don't have to suffer at your own expense. You can live your dream, and I encourage you to set, then pursue your goals. So join me as I change the mindset and attitudes of men so that they can be the leaders of their families and their destinies.
Amen. Hello and welcome to Relaxed Male. All right, so this week we've got a special guest. This is someone who I've talked to three times over Zoom sessions and other sessions, and I've gotten around to where I've really enjoyed her message. And yes, this is the first woman we've actually had on the show. Everybody give a cheer. Yay! So everybody, I'd like for you to welcome Lindsay Marie onto the show. She is a relationship coach, and we're going to be talking this week about how us men can actually develop our relationship and get a stronger relationship, not only with your wives, but maybe with your kids. And we're going to be seeing what type of knowledge she can be able to drop on us this week. So anyhow, Lindsay, thank you for joining. How are you today?
Thank you for having me, Brian. I'm doing well.
So you're a relationship coach. So when it comes to, we'll go ahead and we'll dive right on into it. When it comes to relationships, what is the biggest problem that you see men have?
Yeah. So I work primarily with men on dating and relationships and men who are in partnerships and all stages of relationship. So it differs slightly, but the core is really their own sense of self and their own sense of ability to communicate in a way that is received by their partner, and to build this dynamic of healthy intimacy, and all basically through communication, both verbal and nonverbal. Okay. And ultimately that all starts with their sense of self, with their self-love, with their confidence, with their masculine energy and their drive and their dedication. And a lot of men have been socialized into being passive because of post-feminism and then also these concepts that masculine is that's like what masculine is that strength and that power. And most men have not been taught how to be vulnerable in a way that's supportive for them, in a way that builds trust, in a way that, they're not fearing, I'm going to be taken advantage of or look like I'm weak or, so I really support men in creating those dynamics with their partner wherever they're at and learning to really trust themselves.
All right. And so when you say that men really believe that masculinity is that full strength and all that, I personally think that is part of masculinity. But I'm wondering, why do you think a lot of men have gone wrong with almost overdoing it with the thing, with the element, the whole strength element?
Well, I definitely think it's part of masculinity too. And I think that it's why women are attracted to men also, because we want you to protect us, because you are just naturally stronger than us. So there's that instinctual drive to find a man who is strong and can be that man in certain circumstances. I think the challenge is really in the loss of a sense of love and vulnerability in that space. Like a lot of men see, I got to be strong and I got to have this wall up, this wall where I don't allow any of my emotions to be expressed. And men often actually tend to stuff anger around their partners because they don't want to be aggressive. And then sometimes it comes out later, like when they get ticked off, they can get angry and, or it affects their health. It can affect their health too.
Okay. So when it comes to being a masculine guy, And we've been told, these whole times that we need to, we've had these in school and college and all that. We've had that whole almost indoctrination of you can't be, the popular term being toxic masculinity, which is is if there is a spark for a good discussion with anybody is whenever I hear somebody say that there's such thing as toxic masculinity. So, but with the spirit of what they're actually saying, because to be a toxic person is actually impossible, because there's not anybody who walks around with true venom on their skin, or packing some type of venom on them to where they can actually, be toxic to somebody. It's because a lot of times people refer to that as that they're having some type of control over the other person's emotions. And that one is so when it comes to toxic masculinity, I really find that whole term a deplorable term. But with how men have been raised by the people of influence, being the teachers and the professors in schools and colleges, what is it that they're getting so wrong with trying to tamp down that masculine energy that they have? What is it that they can, what is it that they're trying to, I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase that, and I keep tripping over words. How do you get, what would possibly be I had a question in my head, and it just kind of, as I spoke, it died away.
Can I tell you the question I'm hearing?
Okay, go for it. Yes.
Statements? So the question I'm hearing is, what's the challenge with being in the healthy masculine? Or
there you go. Missing? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Back online there.
Yeah. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah. No, that works. That works good. Yes.
And this is actually what I do is I ask people questions based on their context and what they're talking about. So this is perfect example of how I support other people. So and normally I would let you answer the question, but you're asking me, right. So I will answer it. I will answer it from my perspective. First of all, I think that, boys are taught to be strong, don't cry, don't blah, 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 this. And then they're also on the other end, like, don't yell, don't talk, don't backtalk the teacher, like, don't. So they're emasculated in a way. And emasculation is just basically not being allowed to be who you are and be trusted with doing a task. Because the masculine, healthy masculine wants to provide, wants to fix things, wants to build things. And when society doesn't trust men to do that anymore, and I'm talking on you could go with all the stuff that's happened in the news, like the really bad stuff with men mistreating women, but that's only a small percentage of men. I'm talking on a microcosm in the classroom, or with a mother, or with a wife or a girlfriend not trusting her man to do something because she knows she's figured out how to do it. Right. That's like the foundation of emasculation. And it starts at a very young age because boys are, all kids are like, I want to do this and blah. They get really excited. And we're like, no, we shove them down. Sit in your seat, do this, be this way. So it all really starts there. Okay. And I think I don't have a solution for the whole school system yet, but it is something that I think about a lot. I do think about that. And it mostly comes with learning how to communicate, again, bringing that back with being in a place of neutrality around situations, honestly with partners, knowing that she's not intentionally trying to emasculate you. It's just how our society has been like socialized. So being able to have the conversation like, hey, I just wish that you would trust me to figure this out on my own. Like making requests of your partner. And with the whole awakening, I like to think of it as wounded masculine and wounded feminine instead of toxic. We all have childhood wounds, whether you're a man or a woman. Like women do things that are also from a place of wounding as well too. And so the part of becoming and awakening and being in an enlightened and a conscious partnership is understanding your own wounds that cause you to retreat, to back down, or to lash out. Because what they call quote unquote toxic masculinity is actually both sides of that. It's avoidance and aggression.
Right. Okay.
So and I agree with you. I don't think that toxic's like a buzzword. And if you feel like you're toxic or call yourself toxic, like that's actually the most toxic thing. Is just to use the actual word. So, and wounded isn't that great of a word either. Like I do think that it's more like some teachers really talk about, and I resonate with this, the concept of being a boy and then a prince and then a king, and or being what's the one, like a guard, like being a guard and then a prince and then a king. So like these different stages of masculinity. So there is no wounded masculine or unhealthy masculine. It's just learning experiencing the progression of becoming a king. And I think that, I know there are a lot of bad, quote unquote, bad kings in history too. So I could go there, but I'm talking about in a sense of like, I am worthy.
Right.
And I think that's the main essence, is that healthy, divine masculine is approaching the world from a place of love, like standing, these are my values. This is what I want. Right. And I am giving and loving to you. Would you like to meet me there? And then the feminine can choose to surrender into that. And that's what healthy feminine wants, is that they just want to surrender into this container of the masculine energy that is like, this is my value in my life. Now, though, most women have been taught to be masculine. So that can be challenging too. So there's so many different intricacies of it.
Okay. So with that bit of knowledge, when it comes to us trying to, let's say with a married guy, or maybe a guy who's dating a woman, and they're struggling. What is a way that a guy can actually communicate with his wife in a very masculine, not even very, just in a general masculine, in a masculine fashion? How can they be able to communicate without them, without their partner, reacting in a way where they think that they're mansplaining or anything like that?
Mm-hmm. Totally. Manslation. It all starts in the body, actually.
Okay.
Because remember, there's feminine and masculine, and they meet in a, like a magnet, they connect. Right. So,
okay.
So as your healthy masculine bleeds into the healthy feminine, they become one in a way. So you're both embodying both qualities in an essence. Okay. As far as the communication goes, it starts in your body, in that, like, a lot of men are up here and they're single focused. Yeah. They might be focused on the problem. And a lot of women are single focused too. Like, we've been trained to be that way, even though we might switch back into the feminine, which is diffused focus, like thinking about multiple things, multitasking.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
So I think it's really important to, first of all, notice, is my partner in her masculine energy or her feminine energy? Is she like, I'm working on this project, don't interrupt me, that's masculine? Or is she like, let's connect and let's talk about things, and I want to tell you about this and I want to tell you about that, or I have a problem and I just want to vomit it because I have a problem and I want to vomit it?
And I'm sorry, But the visual I just had in that whole thing was seeing a man and a woman, they're trying to talk, and eventually you have the guy break down and go, "Dadgummit, let me talk like a guy for a little bit. You'd be the woman." So, so just
yes,
it was a visual. I was just like going, yep, that would probably be something I would have. It's like, darn it, I want to be the man. So
yeah, well, that's when the requests come in. That's when the requests come in. Like, honey, I feel like I want to figure this out for myself or for us. Can you trust me to figure it out without needing to womansplain me? You know,
exactly.
Like without like which is emasculating.
Right.
So, and a lot of women don't, that's not talked about as much as mansplation is, you know, like emasculation. A lot of people don't really know what it means, and it's very subtle, and they're not intending to, like, you know, destroy your masculine energy, but like, it's really this give and take of that. And I think when a lot of times you can communicate with your body, because the body and the feeling is the feminine, and the masculine is the focus, intention, like on love or on trust or on peace, or creating peace. And the body is the center where you can communicate that with a partner, especially if you've been with them for a long time.
Okay.
You can start to learn how to tap into that energy, even on a like mindful, meditative, spiritual level, and stand in that energy so much that whenever you're talking to them, they're feeling you more than they're hearing your words. So they're, and that's something that's hard to explain in a podcast. It's more, you know, like,
no, I get you.
But you can do it. I mean, what you want in your partner is basically who you get to be for yourself, and is the qualities that you trust, honesty, love, whatever. And then the tricks of the communication dynamic, like I said, are just understanding who's in their masculine, who's in their feminine. Because a lot of men get in their feminine and they want to talk details and all these things. And like, they don't want their woman to try and figure it out either. They just want to listen. They just want someone to listen to them talk about, like, well, I had this crazy day at work and this client and blah, blah, blah. Like sometimes, or like, I really want to fix the house, and these are all the ideas that I have for fixing the house. Like, and those are examples where you ask, like, hey, can you just listen? Like, I would really appreciate it if you just listen and I'm trying to figure this out on my own. Like, can you just hold space for me to just listen right now? And a woman can do that too. You'll actually, talking to her like that, she'll start to pick up, like, oh yeah, I just want him to listen right now. Because most women just want you to listen, getting back to the mansplaining thing. They want to vomit their problem and all of their feelings out, and they don't want you to do anything with them except for stand there and hold space.
Right.
And then you can just say, is there anything else, honey? Is there anything else? And trusting also too, that this is another thing about healthy masculine, is that they're not perturbed by a woman's emotions, by the feminine flow of energy that is all over the place. Okay. Because our hormones are different than yours. So they stand like if she's like freaking out about something, the man is in his masculine, being the calm, being what he wants to provide for his partner, the space to listen. If that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense, because that's one of the big issues that a lot of us guys have, is when you're saying single focused, when because a lot of times we listen for what the problem is, and as soon as we hear what the problem is, it's, oh, okay, well, this is what you need to do, this is how we can fix that, you know. And it's after 25 years of marriage, it's finally dawning on me that, oh, they really don't care what the actual solution is. They already know how they're going to resolve the issue. They just need to get the emotional fog cleared out so that they can actually clearly think and approach what the problem is. Or at least that's how I've envisioned how women, the mysterious woman's mind, actually works.
Exactly.
So what is something that that us guys say let's say it's just a normal everyday day. You come in, you're, hi, honey, how you doing? How was your day? Give you a kiss. And, what is a good way to connect with a relationship just on your average day? From the average day, we'll go to a more high energy type of day, but on just your average typical Thursday afternoon, you got home from work, you just got finished doing a 30-minute commute, and you know, you had a rough day at work, but it wasn't anything horrendous, and you know, you're not about to get fired or anything like that. So you're just home for the day. You're just kind of you're unwinding, and you go, hey honey, and you want to try to be as present to your wife so you can be as connected, because again, we don't know what her day was like. We know what our day was like, but you know,
yes.
What's a good way for men to build their relationship on a good, just typical Thursday afternoon?
Yes, that's an incredible question. Okay. So first of all, masculine needs transition time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of women don't know that, and they don't provide it. You'll walk in the door and be like, honey, blah, 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 like right away. Like they'll start talking to you
yeah.
and you're like, whoa, I just drove 30 minutes. I'm still like, I'm not there yet. Even if you're not expressing that out loud, your body sort of goes into that tightness.
Right. Oh yeah. Very much so.
So important technique that I recommend for men is to actually, before they get out of their car, give themselves the transition time in the car.
That's actually a piece that I'm working on for a couple of weeks from now. Is actually the drive. Well, I call it the driveway, where it's just once you're there, you sit and just, you know, don't listen. You know, whatever it is you're typically doing, just jump over, do something where it's as a true just a release time. Like just, you may not listen to. You may be a podcast listener, and this is something because this is what I normally do. The end of the day, whenever I get done, I'm usually over in a larger city in Oklahoma called Oklahoma City, which I'm sure most people have heard of it. And I've got about an hour and a half drive from there back to the house. And so I stop listening to audiobooks, even if it's a fictional audiobook, and I turn to just music, just, you know, upbeat, fun music. And that whole drive home is my transition time now. So to be able to, you still got a little bit of an unwind. Once you get there, you might just sit there in the driveway for just a few more moments, just to really make sure you've got the changing of hats taken care of. Is that what? No, yes. That kind of stole your fire, but
no. That's great that you resonated with that, because you're a man, you know. So like you're that example for all the guys out there. I think that even though when you're driving, you're still very, even if you're decompressing and you're consciously doing that, I think that's great. You are still single focused on getting somewhere.
True.
So
okay. Good point.
Just like you said, driveway time, like taking a moment to just feel yourself in your seat and take a few deep breaths, like really deep breaths, like invigorating your whole body with air.
Okay.
And you can do even like, if you have your own breathing technique yourself. I actually coached someone who had a lot of challenges when he would first come home from work with his wife. Mm-hmm. And he did this deep breathing before going in, and it completely changed his whole trajectory with her. And I didn't even share with him the other things because it was like one session, but that I'm going to share with you now, which is, so you get that grounded sense. So first of all, you get that grounded sense in your body,
okay, present,
and then you think about, what do I want to create with my wife when I go inside, or with my girlfriend, or on a date? Like, let's say you just got to a date. Like, how do I want her to feel when I walk in the door? Like, do I want her to feel happy? Do I want her to feel excited? Do I want her to feel turned on? Like, like whatever it is you want her to feel, like passion. You get to feel that for yourself. So this is tapping into that energy, first of all, and the sensations. This is a way that men, that I coach men in supporting them to learn how to be connected with their feelings, is by thinking about, oh, what does a joy feel like? What are some times that I felt a lot of joy? And then how do I feel that in my body?
Okay.
So like, where do I feel it? Is it a warm sensation? Like actually describing the sensations in your head,
right, and
feeling them in your body. And then just going in the house and being in that energy.
Okay.
And, but being in it in such a way that no matter where she's at, you stay in that energy. Like you can still meet her in her frustration or sadness or whatever, but in your body, you're staying in that energy. And that's the masculine point for the feminine to surrender or arrive to, or, be with. And so when you are being passionate, when you're being passionate in yourself, you create passion in your relationship. Like when you're being passionate, you're going to be like, oh, honey, your hair is so amazing today.
Right.
Like,
okay.
Oh my gosh, honey, work was like really challenging, but I'm just so glad to be here right now. Like you hear the tone of my voice, right? So, and that's me being embodied in my passion. And so that's an example. And being fun, being funny, like joking with her, picking her up, hugging her, like pinching her butt, even like doing things that catch her off guard a little bit, that shift her energy.
Right.
Those are all things that bring in that deeper connection, you know, and then really just listening to her. Okay. Like that's really important that you've taken that space outside of the driveway, because then you have the space to listen to her. Your head's not like going all over the place.
Right. And
then at a certain point, she'll be like, how was your day? And then you can tell her how your day was.
Okay. So
build that connection.
So be intentional on on the energy you want to be able to provide your wife or girlfriend when you're coming, and right before you walk through the door. A lot of times I've heard a couple other men talk about how, I think it was not Woody Guthrie. Oh, good grief. A humorist. Can't think of his name right now. Anyhow, he's famous for here in Oklahoma. Anyhow, there's one guy who always talked about how he would actually have his work hat, and every day he got home, he would leave his work hat hanging on the be very intentional, making sure that he left his work hat sitting on the fence post or at the gate post. And on that gate post, he would have dad hat or husband hat, and he would throw that on as he went into the door. And again, that's another kind of representation of be intentional on how you want to enter into whatever that relationship is. Be intentional with that. Is that essentially another way of what you're saying?
Yes, and I think the important part for men is really to not is to stand in that intention, regardless of what's going on with the woman or with the kids, to respond, but to respond from that place of intention, that love, that trust, because a lot of times most human beings, it's normal to want to recoil or react or change our energy when chaos is ensuing in some way. Mm-hmm. And that's our survival instinct. So, and some men have a tendency to avoid, and other men have a tendency to want to control, in their survival instinct space. Mm-hmm. So this is the healthy masculine of, I am love. I am the provider of love. I can create this love just by being it in the way that I respond. And then from that place, it's like a natural, you'll see it in a crowd of people, or if the person on stage is rioting, like in a punk show, or they just start going crazy at one point, then the whole audience starts going crazy. Right. So it's like a mirror. We're always mirroring each other. So that's another indication too. If something's going on in my partner, it's oh, how is that am I mirroring that? Like, where in my life am I mirroring their sadness or their lack, or, and how can I shift that in myself and be a leader in the relationship?
Okay. So say you've had the typical normal Thursday afternoon drive home, all that, and you get home and you find out that, Junior, he's decided he's going to be Picasso with a loaded diaper, and everything. Mom's tied up in the corner, and you've got the other 7 Indians of the house. They're building up a bonfire in the living room. And you can see it's just been a hellacious day for wife. And how do you be able to maintain that? I'm going to be loved, but oh my gosh, how do we do love in the middle of chaos? When you run in face first into something that is diametrically opposed to what you thought you were going to be walking into, how should a guy react to that?
Well, first of all, it's very challenging. I was an elementary school teacher, and I chose against it because it was so challenging. So, like, when I say what comes out my mouth is not as easy as it sounds. I will just start with that.
Yeah,
so you first of all, you got to be very compassionate with yourself when you do respond, or you might react to something. You got to be okay with it being messy, because that's the space for growth.
Okay.
So the most important thing, though, to know about all human beings is that nobody is misbehaving. Nobody is misbehaving. Everyone is behaving based on their knowledge and experience of the world so far, so that they can get their needs met.
I got you. Okay.
So coming from that place of neutrality allows the diaper and the fire and the $1,000 worth of damage, and mom, poor mom, I'm so sorry. It allows for you to let go of the guilt, shame, fault, and blame.
Okay.
Right away. And from that place, then you can address the situation. I'm not saying you don't need to have a conversation with the kids about what just happened with the fire in the living room, and that's not safe, but it's the tone and the energy in which you approach it. So in those situations, a lot of people can't come from a place of love, but you can at least come from a place of neutral. Love, oh my gosh, this is amazing kind of love. But you can come from a place of neutrality.
Right. Okay.
So there's a really great, amazing book called Parent Effectiveness Training by Thomas Gordon.
Okay.
And there's also some other stuff that I coach my clients on win-win conflict resolution, and how to have conversations with their children or their partners. Actually, just funny that I just had a session on this recently, and it's from the framework that no one's misbehaving. And that creates the trust for the child to then explain to you from their perspective,
right,
what happened. And once they know that they're not, quote unquote, in trouble, they're not going to be punished,
right,
or rewards are going to be removed, then they can communicate to you. And this is a pretty big sequence that I could probably spend a whole hour talking about. But basically it's like, oh, I noticed that you're building a fire in the living room. This is an excuse, right? I mean, I know you'd probably put the fire out first, right? Put the fire out.
Yeah.
But say definitely come in and put out anything that's unsafe, just put it out. But I noticed that you were trying to build a fire in the living room. And notice how I didn't ask a question, but I implied that it was a question.
Right.
Or I noticed that you're feeling really frustrated right now.
You seem stressed.
and I'm amplifying, I'm making it sound a little snarky, that's just so that you can hear the tone of my, you inflect okay. The statement about the behavior. So you're noticing the behavior, saying that you notice it, that you see it, or you sense that there's a feeling like frustration, and then you just wait for them to respond.
Okay.
And they're going to say, well, yeah, we were playing Indians and like we had to have a fire because we're Indians. And then you literally repeat back what they said. You don't make any judgment, comments, or questions about it. But it is quite a process to really understand. But look up Parent Effectiveness Training for anyone who's listening to this, like incredible book. It's great. They have leader effectiveness training too. It's good for business, for anything. It's basically getting to the point where it's using active listening so that they can extend their own thinking to get all of their thoughts out about it and about why because they might not think that there's a problem. Like they might want to build the fire in the living room.
Right.
So at a certain point, you got to say, hey, I feel really, you could use feeling words.
Mm-hmm.
I feel really unsafe that you're building a fire in the living room. And I feel frustrated because it can cause a lot of damage to the house. And so, and then you let them respond and then you say, like, what's the solution so that we don't have to, at a certain point, you do ask a question. You're like, what's the solution or some solutions that you can think of so you can play Indians and have fun and we don't have to risk burning the house down.
So it's not a great idea to go in sounding like Zeus on a rampage then. Come in there going, no, this is my domain. And, start. So that's usually a bad move, huh?
Yeah, but with a fire, I mean, it can be hard not to do that, right? Like our instincts kick in. And, if that happens, you can always you just talk to the kids after, be like, Daddy was really scared. He was really scared that the house was going to burn down and I overreacted. So you just acknowledge that you're a human being too.
Right.
And then when they see that, that's actually models for them how to respond when they overreact. Okay. When they overreact, because we're all going to do that. But basically the last part is you let them come up with all the solutions to whatever the problem is. Like this works for 6-year-olds. Right. It's great. And then you go through, you don't censor any of the solutions. Like if they say, let's burn the house all the way down, you write that down. You literally write down everything that they say. Okay. And that builds trust because they're like, oh, wow, he's actually listening to what I'm saying.
Okay.
But then what you do is the final step is you go through all of the solutions. You're like, well, burning the house down doesn't work because I want a house to live in. Like You're still being the authority. So burning the house down doesn't work. Lighting a fire in the backyard doesn't work either. That's unsafe. Like, yes, maybe I think we could get a fake fire for you guys. That would be fun. Like if that's one of their options on there. So you find the options that work for you. And that's what is creating the win-win because they came up with all the solutions and then you pick the ones that worked. And then they get to pick the final one out of the ones that worked for you.
Okay.
Do you see how and that's creating cognitive skills for kids that a lot of kids don't learn, if they're, it's super powerful. I hope that was like a whirlwind of that, but, definitely.
I hadn't quite had that walk in, but I've had some where the wife was like, you're taking the kids now, go. So, I figured, just, those days where you walk in, you're like, all right, well, this has been a great, wonderful. Oh my God, no, this is going to be a horrible day. So, but what you were essentially talking about was that the different types of focuses that you were talking about there? Is that essentially what I'm trying to think of the virtual couch, EFT, emotionally focused training. Or therapy. Is that kind of what I think that's kind of what he talks about, where you're actually meeting the kind of the person halfway. You're hearing what they're saying, and when they you're not so much asking, you're asking questions for clarity, but even if they say something that is, say, wounds you emotionally, say they say something and you want to try to make it imply something that is a slight against you. He actually says, always remember one of the first things is that they never wake up in the morning saying, how can I hurt my spouse? It is starting with the place of, well, okay, they're coming from what they're aware of at that moment, while you're coming from a completely different area. So that's where a lot of the questions, oh, really? How's that? Tell me more on that. Oh, really? Yeah. So that seemed like a good idea at that moment. Why did you think that was a good idea? So that's kind of how you're going.
Yeah. Except the questions are a roadblock in heated situations.
They can be. Yes, I agree.
They can be. So, that's why using statements, like, I hear you say this,
right.
Instead of saying like, why did you do that? Or why did you choose to do that? Be like, I noticed that you did this in this situation. Like, just or I'm hearing you say that you're really pissed off right now and that you just want to leave. Like, right. Acknowledging what they, that's the only, totally, you can ask people questions. Like, we ask people, it's important to ask questions in a relationship. It's just in circumstances where feelings are really tense. Asking a question also to a woman puts her in her masculine energy because she's up here now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, let me think about that. Unless if you're asking her how she's feeling. If you're asking her how she's feeling, then it's bringing her back into her feminine. Questions like that.
Okay.
But if you're asking her to try and figure out why she did something, or then you're putting her up in her mind. But if you're stating the question, or if you're making it a statement, then you're essentially being a mirror for her to see where her own thoughts are and to extend her thinking beyond and solve her own problem.
Okay.
And she loves that.
That's the key right there. So to see here, we got you. So we've been about 45 minutes now. So you got time for to keep going, or you getting pressed for the next your next event?
Go ahead. I'm loving this.
Okay. So with the let's tweak our scenario just a little bit more. Now, okay, so we've taken the bonfire and the heathens out of the picture again. But you've noticed a lot of us guys will start to, somewhere along the way, we'll start to realize that something's just not quite jiving. We're just not quite. Nothing's wrong. I mean, the bills are getting paid every month. We're getting into that rut, that roommate syndrome. How do we start to rebuild a connection that has essentially gotten a little worn down a little bit? We've gone through 10, 15, maybe even 20 years of marriage, of seeing each other almost every day, if not every day. And it is now just, hey, this is my wife, and it's just my wife. It's not my wife as in this is my lover. This is the queen of my world. This is the fire of my loins, all these other, thoughts that we would normally have back when we were, first married. But now that we've made it a few revolutions around the sun, what are some ways that we can actually try to keep that connection, or reignite that connection, rebond, I guess, since we're talking connections instead of fire? That with that connection, how do we fortify that connection?
Yeah, that is a big challenge for a lot of people. There are a lot of ways. It all starts again with you. So with choosing to be in the energy of like intimacy and sexiness and playfulness. Like, I think really the easiest way is to try to flirt with her the way that you did when you first
Okay.
got together. And if she's like swatting you away, like no, you just keep going. You don't let rejection, and unless if she gets pissed, you don't let the rejection,
right.
you don't let it stop you. Because you're pursuing her. Just remember, like when you first starting dating a woman, she might be like, no, I don't want to see, or no, I don't want to do that. Or no, I'm not ready for that yet. Like she'll tell you no, but you're so like intent on her being with her that like, you're okay with that. Like you don't let it phase you.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So bringing yourself back to that pursuer role as a man, and like, how can I pursue her and create this like sensation of intrigue, like surprising her, maybe even scaring her, like from around the corner, like she's walking down the hallway and you're like, boom.
Right.
Like,
okay. Yeah.
Like
kind of keeping her on her toes.
Anything to jolt her system in a fun way. You know,
right. Not just
anything to
be
jolt
cruel.
her system, pushing your body up against her. Like if she's doing work in the chair, like pushing your body up against her body,
right.
and being in that gooey, sensual energy.
Mm-hmm.
And even when she's not, like, unless if she's literally saying like, no, get away from me, you know, she's like not consenting.
Mm-hmm. Assume
that because she's your wife, she's like consenting to you touching her, right? You know, like to rubbing up against her.
Right.
So like that's a lot of men, like women will, their partners, their wives will, and I've worked with many men who have like, they'll deny them sex.
Mm-hmm.
So like, no, I'm tired, or no, I don't feel good, or no, I have back pain, or no, I'm busy with work, or like, or no, I just don't want to, like, and over they'll get denied. And then the men just give up
right
at a certain point. And that's being, that's basically flipping or neutralizing the polarity, because now she's more masculine than you are. You've submitted to her whim in the moment, when like, even if it's happening over and over again, you still have the power to change it. Okay. Another very important book that I would check out is The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida.
Okay.
And in that book, at the end, he explains the importance of withholding ejaculation, and the process of breathing the orgasm up the spine and not going to masturbation or like porn to meet your own needs. For so like, even energetically, just withholding your own with semen retention, you can create this vitality. He talks about it, that women will like intuitively sense like that you aren't like just pleasing yourself without them, and they'll start to want you. Like it's like a chemical thing, a chemistry. And he has a lot of the techniques that I explained, I've learned from him, because if you're being surrendered into her and her way of doing things, then she's become the man in the relationship. And that's common, especially because a lot of men really like powerful women. They want to date women that are on their level with them, but then they don't want to argue or be dominant. But women, we will always test you. So he talks a lot about that too, about like, we'll tell you we don't want sex over and over again when we really do want some type of like, we maybe just want to be like held and caressed and like appreciated. Like some people need to be warmed up, like way warmed up before they engage in something like that. And so just really like asking your partner what their love languages are, like playing with words of affirmation, with physical touch, with acts of service. Like some women get really turned on when you fix the toilet. They're like, oh my God, he fixed it. Like,
he's super handyman today.
Or he helped me with my project. Oh, that was so hot. I get turned on. I'm a quality acts of service kind of person.
Service person.
So yeah, the main trick is to not give up hope.
Okay.
Just know that because relationship with others, first and foremost, relationship with self. So if there's a lack of intimacy somewhere, it's a lack of intimacy with yourself first and foremost.
Okay.
So yeah, I could keep talking about that too. I'll stop there.
So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and let's get her wrapped up. So, Lindsay, what's the best way of people being able to get a hold of you? Is there a website, anything like that you would like to be able to share?
I actually prefer my Instagram because it has the most content on it, but you can also check out my website too. My Instagram is at Lindsay Marie Coaching. That's Lindsey Marie Marie Coaching. Okay. And that's also my email address, lindsaymariecoaching@gmail.com, and my website, lindsaymariecoaching.com.
Okay. All right. And yeah, you're kind of, when it comes, you're one of the interesting coaches where you're kind of exclusive on Instagram. You really don't have a whole lot of other branching social media site pages, do you?
No, I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook. Yeah, LinkedIn and Facebook too.
Yeah, but you seem to be a lot more. It's really Instagram that you seem to. I think I see you the most active on. So
yes, all my clients are on Instagram pretty much. Most of the people on Facebook that reach out to me are from India, and they're not really interested in coaching.
Yeah, that's I get a lot of. They're always wanting to ask me if I want crypto, start doing cryptocurrency, and I'm like, no, but I know where they were going with. I'm sure I have a good idea where they were going with you, but still, it was sadly, Facebook it's gotten to be a kind of a mess. So, but anyhow, so Lindsay, I appreciate it. Is there any last parting messages you'd like to give our audience before part ways?
I'll just say, talk about my program briefly. So,
go ahead.
Like I said, my name is Lindsay Marie Barber, and I'm a dating and relationship coach for men, and I help men heal from past relationships and find ideal relationships in a 90-day program that includes everything that we talked about in this podcast, and especially the embodiment of it, of being in your healthy masculine and being a leader in your relationships and your career and the world. And I love doing this work so much. It's one-on-one coaching, and I create a lot of extra content specific to each client. And I love the relationships that I have with my clients and the way that they change their lives with their families and their partners, and the ones that are just learning to date for the first time. It's so exciting to be working with men who are willing to go deep and have the kind of life that they really want.
Awesome. So, all right. Well, guys, look her up over on Instagram. Go to her website if you want to do it that way. She has got a lot of great information over there on Instagram, just different ways of being able to work on your mindset. And if you're interested in seeing that and having her coach you, she accepts direct messages over there on Instagram, and she would be happy to be able to help you. So, guys.
Yes. And one more thing, you can also set up on my website too. If you don't have Instagram, there's a calendar, and you can set up a 15-minute call with me to see if you'd be a good fit to work together. Oh, beautiful. All right. Well, guys, thank y'all very much for listening. I hope you gained a lot of great information from here. If you have any comments, questions, or anything like that, you can get a hold of me over at Brian with a Y at relaxedmale.com. Or you can reach over to me over at relaxedmale.com/contact.
If you found anything on here that Lindsay said that was just knocked it out of the park, and immediately you were like, oh yeah, that's exactly what Dave's having a problem with. You've sent all podcatchers these days, all you podcasting apps have a share button. So share this episode out, share it with your friends, your family, your neighbor down the street, share it on your Facebook page, your Instagram page, LinkedIn, share it wherever it is that you like it. That way we're able to help start grow this community and have a stronger community of men who are all set to make sure that each of us become the best and the greatest that we possibly can be. So guys, with that, I'm going to let you go. Y'all take care. Thanks again for everything. So till next week, bye.